Have you ever noticed that certain habits, the ones you think are harmless, can slowly erode the respect people have for you? It's not always the big obvious mistakes that hurt your relationships. It's often the small, toxic behaviors that creep in without us even realizing. Maybe you've lost touch with a friend, or maybe people at work have started distancing themselves, and you can't quite figure out why. The truth is, these habits are like silent killers of trust and respect. Today, we're going to talk about 4 toxic habits that can make people lose respect for you. These aren't just innocent quirks. They're behaviors that can seriously undermine your reputation and damage your relationships. Trust me, I've been there. I'm going to share some of my own personal stories, the mistakes I've made, and what I've learned from them. These are raw, real experiences. But I believe that by being honest about our failures, we can all grow stronger together. But more than that, we're going to dive into Stoic philosophy, which offers powerful, timeless advice on how to live with dignity and self-respect. Stoicism isn't just about staying calm in difficult times. It's about cultivating character, resilience, and integrity. And these lessons can help you break free from these toxic habits. Before we get started, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt like you lost someone's respect because of a behavior you couldn't quite control? Or maybe you've noticed a pattern in your life where relationships or opportunities seem to slip away. If this resonates with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me through this video, because we're going to fix that together, using the wisdom of the Stoic. Ready? Let's dive in. Habit number 1, gossiping. Let's start with something that we're all guilty of at some point. Gossiping. It seems innocent at first, doesn't it? A little bit of chatter about someone else's life, a harmless story shared over coffee. But here's the truth. Gossiping is a toxic habit that destroys trust. And once trust is gone, respect quickly follows. I used to be a huge gossip. In college, my friends and I would spend hours dissecting other people's lives. We thought it was fun, and it made us feel connected, like we were part of some exclusive circle. But what we didn't realize was that every time we gossiped, we were creating an atmosphere of suspicion and betrayal. You might think that gossiping brings you closer to the people you share secrets with, but in reality, it pushes everyone away, especially the people you're gossiping about. Let me share a story that still haunts me to this day. There was a girl in our group, Emily. She was a bit quirky, introverted, and didn't always fit in with the rest of us. One day, I found out that she had a crush on a guy who, in my opinion, was way out of her league. Instead of keeping that information to myself, I shared it with my friends. We laughed about it, and the story spread. Eventually, it got back to Emily. I'll never forget the look on her face when she realized that her feelings had become a joke. She stopped hanging out with us and left the group entirely. I had shattered her trust. And for what? A few cheap laughs. The Stoics, like Epictetus, warned us to focus on our own character and not to meddle in the affairs of others. Gossiping does nothing but harm, not just to the person being talked about, but to you as well. When you gossip, you're revealing a lack of integrity. People will start to wonder if they're talking about someone else. What are they saying about me when I'm not around? One of the core teachings of Stoicism is to keep silence unless your words are necessary and constructive. Epictetus said, "Keep silence for the most part, and speak only when you must, and then briefly." If your words aren't building someone up, they're tearing them down. How can you break this habit? The next time you're tempted to gossip, pause and ask yourself, is what I'm about to say going to benefit anyone? If the answer is no, don't say it. Use that moment to reflect on your own behavior instead of dissecting someone else's life. By choosing silence over gossip, you'll find that people will respect you more, trust you more, and confide in you with things that truly matter. Habit number 2, being unreliable. Let's talk about being unreliable, a habit that destroys relationships faster than you might think. Reliability is foundational to trust. Whether it's with friends, family, or coworkers, if people can't count on you, they'll quickly lose respect for you. In my early 20s, I was notorious for being the flaky one. I'd make plans with friends and then cancel last minute. Or worse, just not show up at all. I thought it wasn't a big deal. Life gets busy, right? But one event changed everything. Close friend Sarah was throwing a big birthday party. She'd spent weeks planning it, making sure every detail was perfect. I promised I'd be there. But on the day of the party, I got caught up with something else and decided not to go. I didn't even let her know until hours after the event had started. When I finally called her, I could hear the disappointment in her voice. She didn't yell or express anger, but her silence spoke volumes. I had let her down. Our friendship was never the same after that. She stopped inviting me to things, and we drifted apart. I had lost her respect, and it was entirely my fault. The Stoics, especially Seneca, emphasized that our word must mean something. Reliability is a cornerstone of integrity. When you say you're going to do something, do it. If you promise to be somewhere, be there. Your reputation is built on these small commitments. Every time you break a promise or fail to show up, you chip away at the trust people have in you. In my professional life, I had a similar wake-up call. Early in my career, I overcommitted to projects, thinking I could juggle everything. Deadlines came and went, and I always had an excuse for why things weren't finished. My charm could only get me so far. During one performance review, my boss laid it out bluntly: your work is good when you actually do it, but your lack of reliability is a problem. People don't know if they can count on you. That stung, but she was right. Reliability isn't just about showing up. It's about consistency. It's about being someone that others can depend on. Here's how to fix this. Be honest with yourself about what you can and can't do. Don't overcommit. If you make a promise, keep it. And if something comes up, communicate it early. People respect those who respect their time. By being reliable, you'll build stronger relationships, both personally and professionally. It's a simple but powerful way to earn respect. Habit number 3. Interrupting others. Interrupting others may not seem like a big deal, but it's one of the most disrespectful habits you can have in conversation. It sends a message that what you have to say is more important than what they're saying. And let's be real. Nobody likes feeling ignored or dismissed. I used to be a chronic interrupter. I thought that by jumping in with my ideas, I was showing how engaged and enthusiastic I was. But what I didn't realize was how much I was frustrating the people around me. I learned this lesson the hard way during a team brainstorming session at one of my first jobs. I was eager to impress, so I kept cutting people off mid-sentence to share my thoughts. I thought I was being proactive, but my manager saw it differently. She stopped the meeting, looked directly at me, and said, "You need to let people finish their thoughts. You're not listening. You're just waiting for your turn to speak." I was embarrassed. I needed to hear it. After the meeting, a colleague pulled me aside and said, "Do you even realize how dismissive you come across? It's like you think your ideas are the only ones that matter." That hit me hard. I didn't see myself as rude or dismissive, but that's exactly how I was being perceived. Stoicism teaches us the importance of listening, truly listening. Seneca, one of the great Stoics, advised us to be patient and considerate in our conversations. Interrupting others not only shows a lack of respect, but also a lack of self-control. Here's another story. I was out with friends one night, and one of them was sharing a deeply personal story about his struggles with anxiety. Halfway through, I interrupted him to share my own experience, thinking I was being empathetic. But instead of feeling understood, he looked at me and said, "Can I finish?" That moment made me realize that I wasn't listening to him. I was making the conversation about me. So how do we fix this habit? Practice active listening. The next time you're in a conversation, focus entirely on what the other person is saying. Don't just wait for your turn to talk. Really listen. Let them finish their thoughts completely before you respond. You'll be surprised at how much more respect and understanding you'll earn simply by listening more than you speak. Habit number 4. Complaining. The final habit we're going to talk about is one that's often overlooked. Complaining. Complaining is a toxic habit that drains not only your energy, but also the energy of everyone around you. It's one thing to vent occasionally. We all need to let off steam sometimes. But constant complaining makes you a negative force that people eventually want to avoid. I used to be a chronic complainer, especially at work. I had a job that I found incredibly frustrating. The workload was overwhelming, management was disorganized, and I felt undervalued. Instead of trying to find solutions, I complained to anyone who would listen. At first, people were sympathetic. But as time went on, I noticed that conversations were growing shorter, and people started avoiding me. The turning point came when a close friend said, "I love you, but you're becoming really negative. It's exhausting to be around you." That was hard to hear, but it was the truth. My constant complaining was driving people away. It wasn't solving any of my problems. The Stoics believed in focusing on what we can control and accepting what we cannot. Complaining keeps you stuck in a cycle of negativity, constantly focusing on problems instead of solutions. It's a habit that makes you seem powerless, and people lose respect for those who seem helpless in their own lives. Here's how I broke this habit. I started practicing gratitude. Instead of focusing on everything that was wrong, I made it a point to acknowledge what was going right. At work, I stopped complaining about the disorganization and started looking for ways to improve the processes I could control. When I felt undervalued, I sought feedback on how I could improve and made a case for a raise. By shifting from complaining to problem solving, you not only improve your own mindset, but also gain the respect of those around you. People are drawn to those who focus on solutions, not problems. We've covered a lot today. 4 toxic habits that can make people lose respect for you. Let's quickly recap. Gossiping destroys trust and spreads negativity. Being unreliable undermines your word and erodes relationships. Interrupting others shows a lack of respect and self-control. Complaining turns you into a negative force people avoid. Breaking these habits isn't easy, but it's absolutely worth the effort. The Stoics teach us that by focusing on our own behavior and living with integrity, we can earn the respect and trust of those around us. These small changes can have a massive impact on your life, both personally and professionally. If you found value in this video, hit that like button and subscribe. Share it with someone who might need to hear these lessons. Let's all strive to live better, more respectful lives together. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay strong and stay stoic.